1 year ago, fundraising platform UNITED24 was launched. People all over the world help Ukraine, and Ukraine is grateful for this. Good afternoon, this is Henry Keane on UATV channel, bringing hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, we have been asked hundreds of times, what can we done? What can be done? What can we do to help Ukraine? That's exactly why Ukrainian authorities launched UNITED24, the official fundraising platform of Ukraine. The idea is simple: to unite the world around supporting Ukraine to protect, save, and rebuild. And many world-famous personalities did that just as well and have actually visited Ukraine. Why? To express their support for the Ukrainian people, sure, but also to see with their own eyes what is going on here. Not only world-famous politicians, but also many Hollywood stars have visited us. Ukraine has appeared before the eyes of the whole world as an indomitable and powerful nation in the middle of the purposeful and merciless fight for its freedom and survival. It is dreadful, yes, but also fascinating. It is dangerous, yes, but also encouraging. Let me give you some names and some quotes. Sean Penn. Actor and director Sean Penn was in Ukraine more than once during the full-scale war. He came to Kyiv on the eve of February 21st, 2022, and witnessed the beginning of the Great War. Even then, Sean Penn supported Ukraine in resisting Russian aggression. Angelina Jolie. The movie star visited Lviv in April 2022. The actress is a goodwill ambassador of UNICEF, and her visit was dedicated to children affected by Russian armed aggression. Jolie visited a children's hospital, a center for children and youth with disabilities, talked with families, evacuees and volunteers, and also met an evacuation train at Lviv railway station.
They must be in shock, and they must also I know how trauma affects children, and so but I know that just having somebody show how much they matter, how much their voices matter, I know how healing that is for them.
Ben Stiller. In the summer of 2022, actor Ben Stiller visited Lviv, Kyiv, and two small towns near the capital, Irpin and Makariv. He came to Ukraine as a UNHCR goodwill ambassador. Stiller spoke with Ukrainians who were forced to flee their homes because of the war and visited towns destroyed by the Russian army.
Hard to understand what is actually going on here if you haven't been here. We were talking about that, just the actual impact of coming here. And I just was in Irpin this morning. And
where you?
Irpin.
Irpin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
in the morning. So you saw everything.
Yeah, I mean, so the level of destruction, I mean, you see it on television, exactly what you're saying. You see it on TV, you see it on social media, and you know, it's something else to actually see it and feel it, and then to talk to the people. We talked to a bunch of people this morning.
I probably shouldn't say, but I will say it anyway. My favorite actress, Jessica Chastain. The actress visited Kyiv in August 2022, where she visited a children's hospital where war victims are treated. Jessica Chastain also visited Irpin, liberated from the Russian invaders.
The children impressed me with their hope and strength. Many of them left their homes and spent these months in the hospital. A huge humanitarian crisis is ongoing in Ukraine. We cannot forget the innocent victims of senseless acts of violence. I will always be grateful that I met these sweet little children with big, brave hearts. Jessica Chastain, actress.
Also American actor, director, screenwriter and producer Liev Schreiber prepared borscht for immigrants at the crossing with Poland as a volunteer of the World Central Kitchen charity organization, and then came to Lviv. During air raid alert, he hid in a shelter, and later on his Instagram, Liev published a video of how he went down to the shelter.
When I was inside Ukraine, it was incredible for me to see the incredible resilience and courage of Ukrainians. I believe that Putin made his biggest mistake. Liev Schreiber, actor on the air of the American show Morning Joe.
Many of the very famous people. Ryan Reynolds donated millions. Mila Kunis and Ashton Kutcher. The couple kickstarted a GoFundMe campaign for Ukraine with a $3 million donation and has since raised over more than $18 million. And Mark Hamill. Yes, that Mark. Yes, That star, and yes, that was.
Hello, Ukraine. Mark Hamill here. You know, this last year, the entire world has been watching the Ukrainian people with deep admiration for their courage, resolve, and determination against the criminal Russian invasion. We will continue to support you for as long as it takes for you to see victory. I ask everyone everywhere to keep standing with Ukraine and donate via UNITED24 to help it win this fight sooner rather than later. There's no such thing as insignificant support. Every bit of effort contributes to the victory of the Ukrainians, and the force will be with you always.
A lot of world-known actors and stars donated huge amounts. But this is not only about the money, you see. It is about righteousness. May sound snobbishly, nevertheless, it is true. We need stars to light up not only the horizon of Hollywood events, but the earth beneath it just as well. For example, the ground zero left by Russians in Bucha, the trenches in Bakhmut, the dirt and blood of the front line of this war against freedom and democracy that started Russia. The war is going on in a realm of media just as well, again snobbishly and again true. A power of truth and righteousness is the only force to oppose lies, fakes and unjust deeds of the dark side, the Kremlin. So, thank you very much, Mark, and may the good force be with all of us these days who add their lights to the glory of Ukraine. No one was ready for a full-scale war in the heart of Europe. Charitable foundations, no matter how well organized, cannot meet the needs of a country as large as Ukraine. We can, however, do it together. UNITED24, the platform that is designed for collaboration with charities, partners, donors and public figures worldwide. Our goal is to establish an efficient work process that brings Ukraine's victory closer. UNITED24 has direct access to relevant information about the needs of Ukraine, so donations are used to cover the most pressing needs. International funds take a 20% commission from the funds raised to cover their operational expenses. 100% of funds raised via UNITED24, however, are transferred directly to the National Bank of Ukraine and used directly on aid. Each and every dollar is used as intended to. The world is interconnected. The threads of economic, political, logistical, military, cultural and social ties literally permeate modern society, bypassing perhaps only North Korea and several other dictatorships that have opposed themselves to the rest of the world, now including Russia. But there is one place where Russia is very, very much welcomed.
We all want to see different Vladimir here, in The Hague. The one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win, and we will win.
Russian authorities and leaders must be held accountable for the crime of aggression against Ukraine. Ukraine established an international coalition to work on the creation of the relevant Special Tribunal. North Macedonia has joined this group as the 36th country. We appreciate all of our friends who have joined us in our fight for justice. It is critical that countries from the global south join the group to demonstrate their regional and political leadership. We urge all countries to consider joining the Special Tribunal for the crime of aggression against Ukraine in order to hold Russia's military and political leaders accountable. This will also fill the ICC's jurisdictional gap, supplementing the court's important efforts. Putin's arrest warrant, issued by the International Criminal Court, is a turning point and a crucial step in holding Russia and its leadership accountable for their heinous crimes in Ukraine. We anticipate that the UEC will continue its vital work in collaboration with Ukraine's law enforcement agencies. We are preparing several necessary and powerful steps to further solidify partners and provide more energy to establish a tribunal for Russian aggression. You see, morale drives people forwards to creative patriotism, and impunity drives them backwards to dictatorship, madness, mass killings, war and isolation. If Putin and his reserve dogs like bunkers, all right, 6 feet or more under, that doesn't mean it is good for the country. The country is buried with them when political, economical and social ties are broken for the sake of ideology. Of course, Russia finds it now illegal ways to sell oil to India, and then Russian oil ends up fueling our own cars here in Ukraine, which is insane. We pay both our money and our blood to Russia because it is impossible to completely isolate Russia like that. Russia has huge resources, of course, and the world has too many poor countries whose governments are openly for sale, and Russia buys them all right, and businesses too. In February 2022, after Russian troops invaded Ukraine, a large number of international companies announced plans to cease businesses' operations in Russia, but it appears that a year later, a lot of them have fallen back on their promises. When the Kremlin started the special operation, there were 1,404 companies based in the European Union and G7 countries, as well as 2,405 subsidiaries, which were active in Russia. By late November 2022, only 120, or around 8.5% of those companies, had divested at least one of their subsidiaries in Russia, despite international sanctions and commitments to leave the Russian market, according to a study by Swiss management school IMD Institute and the University of Galen. Well, business, nothing personal. Look, even China these days has nothing against a good old discount on Russian oil, earning billions just by the way, sure thing, but what does it all give to ordinary Russians? I mean those to flee their own country trapped between the hammer of Kremlin's forced mobilization and the anvil of international sanctions and isolation. Nothing but losses. However, this is the price that the Russian nation should pay for its criminal connivance that led usurper to the throne and allowed him to change even the constitution in his own favor. What you have to know about Russia's isolation these days, it is not Europe or the United States or Ukraine that isolated Russia from the rest of the world. It's Russian nation who did that to itself. And as so, it is Russia's national responsibility solely. Today, a meeting is to be held in Ankara. The grain corridor to be or not to be, that is the question. The negotiations were supposed to take place on Wednesday, but they were postponed for unknown reasons. The date, May 5, was first announced by Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar. However, neither Ukraine nor Russia confirmed the talk will take place this day. The actual agreement on the negotiations was confirmed by the representative of the Turkish president, who said that if the parties do not reach an agreement, the grain agreement as such is subject of being terminated.
If the meeting does not make a positive contribution, grain shipments may stop on May 18th. In the absence of a positive solution, serious problems with world food supplies may arise. Ibrahim Kalin, Turkish presidential spokesperson.
Also, the Spring Parliamentary Assembly of the Black Sea Economic Cooperation started in Ankara yesterday, and all the Ukrainian and Russian delegations are participating in it. Among others, normal cooperation is just not possible. Kremlin's representative touched our flag, trying to take it from the Ukrainian deputy, and justly got punched in the face for that. The guy's really lucky it wasn't Kiev Mayor Klitschko. That will be the last day for poor Russian. While Ukrainian parliament members demonstrate quite boxing skills, Russian propaganda media, citing their own sources, claim that the transportation of Russian ammonia through Ukrainian ports will be discussed as part of the negotiations on the grain agreement. And you know, it just might be the case. After all, 2 months ago, Lavrov said that the continuation of the grain agreement would only take into account the interests of Russian fertilizer producers. And I have no doubt that they will use the captured ports of Black Sea for that. They already did that with Ukrainian grain captured on the coast of the Sea of Azov when it was exported from Ukrainian ports in Crimea. The issue of the validity period of the grain agreement has been discussed in open format for several weeks. On March 18th, the Minister of Infrastructure of Ukraine, Alexander Kubrakov, announced that the validity of the agreement was extended for 120 days. At the same time, the Russian side insists that the term of validity of the agreements was extended by only 60 days. That is, the term of validity of the agreement expires on May 18th. Neither Ukraine nor UN nor EU representatives agree with this position. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, in his turn noted that doesn't see any interest on the part of the Russian Federation in extending the agreement and emphasized that there are clear agreements with the United Nations and the President of Turkey that they should influence Russia before the negotiations. However, there are now fears that even if the grain corridor continues to operate, if the current rates of shipments and supply of products are maintained, Ukrainian farmers simply won't be able to export the necessary amount of grain to free up storage for the new harvest. After all, Russia blocked the movements of ships 3 times in April alone, and the Kremlin is trying to slow down the inspection of ships as much as possible. Well, what is it, if not blackmail? It was Henry Keane on UATV State Channel, just telling you a hard truth in easy terms for the whole free world directly from Ukraine. Please stay safe and tune for more tomorrow.